Well, welcome everyone. Joe Newell, DanRiverSports.com, and today I am joined by Jack Reece, rising senior.
Yes, sir.
At Chatham High School. Actually a multi-sport athlete there for the Cavaliers. One in particular is standing out as it's paving the way for you to go to college as well. But we're going to be talking to Jack today. Welcome, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you in. Jack has recently committed to the University of Richmond to play football.
Yep.
Likely along the O-line, as we were talking about.
Yep.
Coming off a great junior season, you personally as well as the team, right? Chatham had a great football season, but you've been also wrestling.
Yes, sir.
Playing a little bit of basketball for the Cavaliers as well, so keeping busy.
Yes, sir.
That also resulted in Jack being named second team All-State in football, both offensive line and defensive line.
Yes, sir.
And if you don't know, it's hard enough to make the All-State team in one position, to make the All-State team in two positions on opposite sides of the ball. Really challenging. Congratulations on that, by the way.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So how did the news when you received that, how did that hit you?
It was great. I think the year before my sophomore year, I had made one side of the ball on All-State, and I don't think I made it on the other side. And so it was the goal to try and make it both ways.
All right.
My junior year. So.
That's cool, man. I really like that. So maybe first team's in the offing senior year. Who knows?
Yes, sir. That's the goal.
Right. Mentioned a moment ago that you also wrestle.
Yes, sir.
And made it pretty far wrestling this past year too. How did that go?
Yeah. So regular season, I went 20-4, and then I did well at the region meet, qualified for states. And then I lost both my matches at the state meet, which was it was a crazy experience.
Yeah.
I've never played a sport in front of that many people or somewhere so big.
Oh, wow.
Salem Civic Center is huge, and I think there's 8 mats out there, and there's just it's a lot going on. There's so many people, crazy atmosphere. So it was great to just experience that.
Right.
Going into college sports in general, being able to play and perform and an environment like that was crazy.
Yeah,
so.
And you were telling me this was kind of like your first year at Chatham Wrestling, right?
Yeah,
this
was my first year. I think
as a school sport.
I want to say in 6th or 7th grade, I might have done club wrestling, but never competed. Just went to a few practices.
Right. Yeah.
And so this was really my first year.
That's cool, man. That's really cool. And then you somehow fit in some basketball.
I did
too.
I did. Played the latter half of the basketball season. I was captain for I think 4 games.
Okay.
Coach, he told me he really wanted me as more of like a leadership piece, just somebody to be on the team to help out. But I got some good minutes. Made a few highlights here and there, but nothing crazy. And they needed a big man to kind of anchor their defense and get some boards, and a lot of fast guys that were running around, but not a whole lot of big size. So
Now you mentioned in wrestling you didn't play a lot, or you didn't wrestle a lot growing up. What sports were you involved with, like just when you were younger?
So growing up, I was just a 2-sport athlete: basketball, football. So I want to say when I was about 10 years old is when I started with basketball. I've been playing football since I was like 5 or 6 years old. So coming up, it was football and basketball. And then when I got to high school, I added track my freshman year. And so I've been in track up till now. And I don't know if I'll do track my senior year. I think I might want to lift because we lost a really, really good coach to some family issues. He just had to step down from coaching to take care of his family. Really good guy. He coached me in football too. But without him on that track side, I don't know if I'll do that this year.
Okay. Plus, you're going to be getting ready for the next level of football, which is a significant jump from where you've been, right? So we'll talk about that in just a second. So did anybody in your family play football prior to you, like your dad or anyone? Yeah.
So my dad was a pretty highly touted football recruit. He was a 3-sport athlete in high school: football, basketball, baseball. Football was probably his best sport, but baseball, he was up there for baseball too.
Okay.
He was recruited by several Division I teams, but things kind of fell through for him. It just didn't work out for him. He kind of turned down an opportunity to play at the Division I level due to some like personal stuff that he didn't feel comfortable doing, and he ended up playing baseball at Averett. So
very cool.
He was an athlete.
Cool.
And then,
now, and just kind of scouting you out, I want to use scouting rather than stalking you on social media. But,
absolutely.
But looking at your Instagram account and whatnot, I saw a couple references to scripture verses in there for you.
Yes, sir.
In particular, I think that probably appears on all your Instagram stuff is Proverbs 4:23, which
Yes.
if you're not familiar with what that verse says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it.
Yes, sir.
Why did you choose that verse?
So that is my favorite verse. At certain platforms I might use a different verse, but typically, in my bio I've got Proverbs 4:23. Personally, I'm big on heart verses.
Yeah.
I'm very fascinated with how the heart is represented in the Bible.
Yeah.
And it's more so the mind, not necessarily like the physical heart.
Right. Sure.
But guard your heart first. Protect your heart. For everything else you do flows from it.
Yeah.
Speaks to a lot of just overall scripture is like, if you can take care of your heart first, then everything you do from it will succeed. And that's referenced to in a lot of sermons that Jesus gives when he's talking about. Our last Sunday, our pastor was talking about, I can't remember exactly what verse it was, but it's when Jesus was getting into an argument with the Pharisees, and he was talking about how they were questioning him for not washing his hands and gathering food on the Sabbath.
Right.
And he was telling them, is not what comes out of your body more important than what goes into your body.
Right.
For the Lord made both. So obviously, you need to take care of what's coming out. And I think that's just a very common theme throughout the whole Bible is, protect that heart. Got to keep this right first before you can do anything else.
Okay.
And so that's why it's always been my favorite verse for as long as I can remember. That was like the one that I kind of gravitated towards.
That's really
I love the book of Proverbs too. It's a fantastic book.
Yeah.
So
yeah, very practical minded stuff, very earthy kind of stuff that you can relate to every day.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man, that's really good. The heart, the Bible's kind of teaches the heart is kind of the seat of everything that we are, emotionally and otherwise too. So if you get that right and everything else, you kind of approach life a little bit different. That's excellent, man. That's really good stuff.
Yes, sir.
I want to switch gears to your recruitment process for Richmond. Obviously, for those of you that don't know, it's not just Richmond that was after you to come play ball. I think I saw at one point, it might be a different number now, but at one point you had at least 12 Division I offers.
Yes, sir.
And I harp on this sometimes, folks, but I don't think people realize how small a percentage of high school football players find a spot at the college level, at any level, right? Not just Division I, but 2, 3, whatever it is. It's only like 5% of all players in America you play at any level. But the percentage that make it to Division I is a really small percentage of athletes. So to get 12 D1 offers, pretty big. I saw a lot of Ivy League schools in the list.
Yes, sir.
So is that a result of your academics? Tell me about why you think those particular schools were interested.
So first off, like you said, every level is important. I have a lot of respect for my D3, D2, and D1 guys. So many phenomenal teammates I've had going on to play Division III and Division II football. So many coaches I've played at the Division III and II level. And I've had a few D1 guys, teach me along the way. But I mean, just college football as a whole is so hard.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of respect and love for all my guys that played at every level. As far as the Ivies, though, my dad had always been really big on me to take care of my grades because
your dad's a principal, by the way. I don't know that everybody knows that. I know around Chatham they probably know that, but
right. Yeah. And he was actually a teacher when I was like 6 years old. So he's been an education-minded guy from when I was on up. So I've always had really, really good grades. Because of that, I would say, not necessarily because of what I do, just because of how big and strict he was on those.
Right. Yeah.
And so now at this point in my life, the grades are more so, my kind of pride that I want to take care of.
Good.
But
it's really good.
To brag on myself a little bit, I think I'm 7th in my class right now.
That's great.
I think I dropped after this semester because I got a B in pre-cal. But I've worked really, really hard in the classroom. I love to learn. That's something else. It's not just
That's great.
Grinding away grades and homework. I mean, I really do enjoy schoolwork and learning. I think there's a lot of good lessons from teachers I picked up along the way. I've had some really phenomenal teachers, and school to me has always been kind of fun. I know that's kind of an unpopular take there, but I enjoy going to see my friends and learning and interacting with teachers and whatnot. So I've always been, kind of academically minded in the sense of just enjoying being there. So.
Okay, really good. So obviously you've got multiple schools, more than 10 at minimum, that were kind of contacting you. Tell everybody what your process was like. I mean, I understand. I know that there's camps involved at different universities. There's visits involved. There's communications and all kinds of things that happen. Obviously, a lot of film breakdown happens. But what, for your perspective, what was your recruitment process like? How did you get connected to the schools, and how did you come up with at least a short list of schools that you were interested in?
So I did have a lot of schools come by. Many more that didn't offer. Just as many that didn't offer, came and talked to me.
Sure, yeah.
I think I had a 2-week stretch where I did not go to English class at all because they always came at like that 10:30 to 11:30 slot. But I met a lot of phenomenal coaches. That's something else that I think can be lost, is the connections you make along the way. Sure. I mean, there's so many coaches that I had to call up and be like, "Hey, coach, I'm committed to Richmond, so I'm not coming here," or coaches that weren't offering me that I wanted to thank for recruiting me, and so many good connections. Thankfully I never had any bad connections with a coach where they got upset with me for committing somewhere else. But everyone that I had talked to had been very, very supportive and helpful. I think my dad and I had counted up. I think it was somewhere around 20, maybe a little bit more, like 20 to 25 schools that had came by in 2 weeks for our spring, and it was a lot. It was very stressful, but it was very, very fun. Something I think I'll cherish for the rest of my life for sure, is just being able to talk to so many coaches and get recruited that way.
It's difficult because they themselves only have certain windows during the year where they can go out and do those visits and meet players. So they kind of cram everything into a short time frame.
Yeah, absolutely. It was hard trying to make a decision just because every school's got so much to offer. Every school. At one point, I told my dad, I was like, "Man, I want to go to every school here. It's so tough. Everybody's awesome. There's no reason for me to choose one or the other, is what it feels like."
Yeah. But
as time went on, something else, like certain schools would fill up. So the way most schools work is first come, first serve. Some schools will have their number one guy. They'll make other guys wait to commit before they take their number one guy. But I think every school that had offered me was first come, first serve.
Okay.
So a few schools that I was looking at did fill up before I committed, which Richmond was so late to the game because they missed my film on their first recruitment cycle. So they didn't see me until, I don't know, I want to say May or April, sometime in the spring. I can't remember exactly when, but they hadn't even contacted me until
So just for context for everybody, when do you think your first contact with coaches, I'm not talking about just going to camps, that kind of thing, but your first recruitment contact until you made your commitment, how long a time frame are we talking about? Was that
with Richmond or?
With any of the schools, really?
I think February, I think, is where everything started kicking off.
Of this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Schools come by. I talked to a lot of coaches. My sophomore year, William & Mary's, at the time I think he was the DB's coach, came by, and he told my coach that because he thought I would grow some more. He's like, "Oh, that guy's a Power 5 guy for sure." And then come back to my junior year, William & Mary was one of my offers. I think that was probably because I didn't grow to be 6'5".
Yeah.
Because I was playing tackle, and at the time I was young to be as big as I was.
You still are what, 6'3"?
6'2".
6'2". Okay.
Yep.
6'2", yeah.
That's big for around here, but once you get to that Division I level you're talking about, there's freaking giants.
Yeah, you kind of have to win the genetic lottery a little bit to play at that level, right? Yeah.
100%. I think Troy Fautanu, the tackle taken out of Washington and going to Pittsburgh, they've got him listed as 6'3" 3/4", which would almost be considered tiny for a tackle.
Wow.
And he was on the Joe Moore winning.
And you've been primarily playing tackle on the offensive side of the ball.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's definitely, I would say, my position is left tackle.
Okay.
I like playing center a lot too. I've played a lot of games at center, but definitely left tackle then center, and then everywhere else a little bit. But this year I'll be playing left guard.
You're gonna be with left guard, Chatham this year. Okay. So how did you guys kind of narrow that list? How did you come up? Did you end up with a short list, or how did you process? How did you navigate all that? How did you filter it down?
I did. So once Richmond, I think, was my either 11th or 12th offer. they were 12 because VMI offered that morning when we were driving up to Richmond. But when after they offered me, my dad and I, we need to make a pros and cons list. So we sat down and made a spreadsheet, and then made the pros and cons for everything. And Richmond by far had the most green. But the more we thought about it, Richmond really is just the best of both worlds. I'm a big family guy. My grandma's taking really good care of me, so I wanted to take care of the rest of my family, especially her, and give her an opportunity to get to my games. And Richmond's 2 hours and 45 minutes from my house.
Right.
So that's if I went Ivy, I think the closest one would have been Penn or Princeton, one of those two.
Right.
And Penn is like 650, and Princeton's right at 7 hours.
Okay.
So
location and proximity for your family to be able to come.
That was a big deal.
Was big. Okay.
And then Richmond's academic ranking is it's not Ivy League. You can't make it that, but it is very, very high, very prestigious school. Very good connections and networks. Very small school.
Okay.
They have a 3,000 student cap because their biggest donor. They were afraid they would have to go out from being a private school and turn into a public school to have funding to run. And their biggest donor said, all right, I'll give you guys, I think it was $50 million in like 1950 or so. So a lot of money back then.
Right.
And he said that, he's like, if you guys stay private and set the cap at 3,000 students, because I think that was around the amount that he had when he graduated. He was like, I'll donate to you guys and be
a minute ago we were talking about how important academics are to you and your whole family, for that matter. So in your process of choosing Richmond or looking at all the schools for that matter, do you have a sense of what you want to study? I know you don't have to declare anything. You got another year of high school to go still.
Yeah.
But how much of a role did what the school offered academically play into your process?
Yeah. So my dad's always told me, football's going to end one day, whenever that is, and getting a degree is very important for that. Whether it's, God forbid, a sudden injury in college, or if it's down the road when. I've got if it's the 5 years of college football play, or if I could even make it to the NFL, God willing, that'd be incredible too. Yeah. No matter what, football's going to end one day. Sure. And you got to do something after that.
Yeah, I think that's the famous line out of Moneyball. You ever see the movie Moneyball?
I haven't. I really want to.
There's a line in there that's like, we all get told at some point we can't play the kids' game anymore. It might be when you're 18, it might be when you're 30, but at some point we all get told that. So
exactly.
To make the most of it, that's a pretty cool perspective.
Yep. I'm looking at business. They have one of the top business programs in the nation. They have a really good leadership program too. So maybe a major, minor in those two. Those are my top two right now, but I'm not dead set on that right now. So.
Yeah. Was there something about the visit at Richmond that you just thought, man, this has to be at the top somewhere? Yeah.
In fact, we were walking around campus on the tour. We kind of broke off from the rest of the group at one point, and with one of the coaches. And my dad and I were walking a good ways behind him. And I turned to my dad and I was like, man, I don't think anywhere else is quite like this. Like, I don't think we can get everything that they have to offer from anywhere else. I think this is my best opportunity to go to the next level.
Yeah.
Like I said, academically, Richmond's up there, but they're also, pretty stout in football.
They are.
Their preseason, they're ranked 13th in the nation right now, coming off of a CAA win last year. They're pretty good. Yeah. So.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I want to shift gears just real quick, and we're going to do something fun to kind of wrap up our interview. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. Well, we're going to do a section called Favorites. So I want to start with, since you're kind of choosing college right now, we'll stay away we're just going to confine this to the NFL to start with.
Okay.
Favorite NFL team?
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Now, how'd you get to be a Steelers fan?
It was a very simple way. When I was playing youth league football, and I first started watching the NFL, I think I was 8, 9, 10 years old.
Yeah.
All my buddies were Steelers fans. I don't really know why they were. Yeah. But they all were. And so when I started watching, that was Ben Roethlisberger, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown on the offensive side, stout offensive line. They had one of the best defenses in the league at the time, with Ryan Shazier leading them. They still had James Harrison at that point. T.J. Watt was young. Still had Cameron Hayward.
Yeah.
Just big dudes, strong, physical, high flying, banging dudes that just hit hard, and it was fun football to watch.
As a different mentality in Pittsburgh, and always has been.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, so that's your team. Now you can go any level now.
Okay.
Favorite player.
Favorite player. All right, so I got to go way back when. Reggie White's my favorite player.
Oh,
of
wow.
all time. Yep.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
The Minister of Defense.
Yep. His physical profile, his physical dominance, and what he stood for.
Yeah.
It's kind of a whole package. Is why I liked him. His highlights are so fun to watch.
Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't watch football in the 80s, but Reggie White's just so fun to watch.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Certainly one of the greatest to ever do it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
When you see a grown man throwing other grown men around, that's a little different level of things for sure.
The clip of him tossing Larry Allen's like one of the craziest things.
Larry Allen was a big man.
Yeah. It was a rookie Larry Allen, but I mean, he was still huge and strong. So
absolutely.
Yeah, it was awesome.
All right, this one's a little just goofy fun. Who do you think, and again, any level, doesn't matter, pro, college, whatever, coolest uniforms?
Coolest uniforms.
Or, combos. You don't have to pick one specific uniform, but the school or the team or whatever.
All right, I'll throw out a couple of that because I don't have a specific favorite, but I know there's a lot that I like. If we're staying in the NFL, I really like the color rush for the Steelers. They're black. They're all black with yellow.
Yep.
I really like Detroit's new all gray with blue.
Okay. Yep.
And I've always loved the Eagles' Kelly Greens.
Oh,
those
Kelly Greens.
Those are my NFL takes.
Okay.
College-wise, I've always liked Boston College's red bandana uniforms.
Yeah, right. I have seen that. Yeah.
And I can't remember the exact story, but I know I knew it at a time. I knew it. I was looking at it last year when they played their red bandana game. It's, I think one of their former players was a firefighter at 9/11 is what I want to say. That could be wrong.
Yeah.
And he passed away there, and I think he was wearing, he always wore a red bandana.
Yeah.
I think that could be very wrong.
Yeah, I don't have a real good recollection of the actual details of the story, but I do remember it was a former player that had passed away for some reason. And the red bandana, he wore red bandana, and that became part of their unis.
Yep, yeah. That is what I know. I want to say it had something to do with 9/11, but I can't.
Okay.
Not sure about that.
Now you're going to make me go look that one up.
Yeah,
definitely.
I got to go look it up now, too. Okay. So either way, it was 4 really good calls.
All right, so Boston College, yeah.
And I've always liked Ole Miss's uniforms. I think they look good. And then Army-Navy game, they always do cool stuff.
They always come up with something unique for that.
So both sides of the ball there. My dad is a Navy veteran. Okay. So always lean more towards the Navy. And they actually recruited me a little bit too, which was pretty cool especially for him. I mean, he loved getting up there to the academy and seeing what it was about. And he talked to a lot of those guys about, because so many of their staff are retired Navy guys. Mm-hmm. My recruiting coordinator or my recruiting coach, was played football at the Naval Academy, and then was an officer in the Navy for a long time.
Which is also no slouch academically as well to go to the Naval Academy. That's a challenging environment.
Yeah, they're the number 1 ranked public school in the nation, and they have been for a while. So really good stuff.
All right, last one on favorites. We'll wrap up here. Is you're going to this really good Super Bowl party, right?
Okay.
What food item needs to be there? Like, what are you looking for when you go to that Super Bowl party to watch the game?
So I think standard, every Super Bowl party needs, wings for sure. You gotta have hot wings. But my personal favorite is nachos. You gotta have nachos of some kind, like either chips and dip, nacho platter, something like that. Some kind of variation of that. But if you don't have wings, it's not a real Super Bowl party. But
it's true.
But yeah.
I think nachos and wings, if you got those anchored down, you're in pretty good shape from there for sure. Well, Jack, I want to say thanks for coming in.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I want to say congratulations again to your commitment to Richmond and all the opportunities that have been put in front of you and your family, because I know you've worked hard to get to this point, and you've earned the opportunities that are before you, and we want to wish you all the best on that. Want to wish you and the entire Cavaliers team this year all the best in your senior season. I know you guys are already out in this heat.
Yeah.
Practicing like everybody else, trying to get ready and get sharpened up for that.
Yep.
So we want to wish everybody there in the tight squeeze area and Chatham proper the best season possible for you guys. We'll definitely be out covering you guys some this fall.
Yes, sir.
We're introducing a brand new thing called Game of the Week, where we'll spend a whole week highlighting that particular game, and you guys are at least a couple times in there, probably more than that.
That's great.
So we'll be out to Chatham, definitely covering that.
Sounds great.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you so much. Hey, everybody. This is Jack Reece, rising senior at Chatham High School, recent Richmond Spider commit.
Yes, sir.
And heading into the senior year with, man, just the sky's the limit, Jack. And,
Absolutely.
Congratulations on all your success and all the opportunities, and we look forward to seeing all that you're going to do this year and beyond as you continue with your education and your opportunities in football.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Check Jack out if you're in Chatham this fall.
Yes, sir.
Or over at Gretna or Dan River or wherever Chatham goes to play. Make sure you go check these guys out. They're playing some really good football there in Chatham. Thanks again, Jack. And thank you guys. God bless you. And we'll talk to you soon.